Hello everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to our DEXMA webinar series. This webinar we're going to be talking about automated carbon reporting. We're really excited to have our guest and partner with us today from ElComponent. We have Bill Gysin, the Managing Director, with us. He's going to talk about where we are now with carbon reporting, give us a quick overview, and then Danny from DEXMA, our Product Director, will show us the new carbon app that will help you do automated carbon reporting through your energy management platform. Then we'll have a Q&A of about 15 minutes, so just check this little chat box there, and if you have any questions, throw them into there and we'll get to them at the end of the session, okay?
Exactly.
Great.
Cool.
So just for those of you who don't know us, we are DEXMA and we are an energy management software provider. We provide software for corporate, commercial, public administration, and industrial sectors all over the world. And we've been recognized by some pretty reputable research companies that you can see in the bottom left corner here. And we've been rated #1 on Capterra Reviews, which is a really well-renowned software review site. And if you have used our software before, we'd love it if you give us a review on there. So I just wanted to go over quickly our energy management Bible, our 3 steps to energy management that's important to keep in mind through the presentation. So first one is detect. We have to understand what's going on with our energy consumption before we can truly understand it. Then analysis is the next step. And finally, control. That means actually reducing the energy consumption that we're doing in our buildings. So why choose DEXMA to carry out these 3 steps? Well, your typical EMS it has dashboards, reports, it's web-based, hardware agnostic, fine. These features are pretty much run-of-the-mill. But the added value that you get when you use DEXCell are these. Data acquisition, more than 150 hardware integrations are available. It has advanced features like measurement and verification, custom reporting, forecasting, and the Energy Apps Market, which we're going to talk about later with the brand new edition of the Carbon app. And it's fast. You'll save a lot of time with faster analytics and an average payload of less than a second. And it's reliable and scalable, so it grows along with you and your business. So now I'm going to hand things over to Bill. He's going to tell us about carbon reporting in the UK. Where are we now? Take it away, Bill.
Okay, thank you. Now, these slides actually have got, needs a keystroke to actually make them work. So yeah, that's it. Let's just do all that in one go. That's great. Okay, so if you find yourself looking at a blank screen, then press a button quickly.
We'll do.
Okay. So this is just a little bit of a resume about ElComponent. We are, as you've already heard, a UK Gold partner for DEXMA, but we've been around quite a bit longer than they have. We were founded in 1986, and really from the get-go, we've been a supplier of turnkey meter-based energy management systems or automatic meter reading systems, AM&T systems, choose whichever acronyms you like. And of course they've changed hugely over the years. We spent quite a number of those years systems based on site-based Windows software of our own design and build, but in recent years we've migrated towards working with a specialist partner in the field because the requirements that customers have for web-based energy management systems are really such that you require to work with a specialist. It's not something that can be simply part of your business. It has to be really all of your business, and that's why these days we're partnered with DEXMA. What we actually do is design, manufacture, install, commission, handover, train. We do the whole thing. So our customers will come to us with a full requirement, including the meters in the first place, the networking, the data acquisition, the software, how to use it, how to get the best out of the system. They all get that from us. We're also a market-leading manufacturer of portable data loggers for energy management in the UK. So for those companies who do not or cannot justify an entire automated system, they will often use portable kit to find out what's going on in key areas. And even those guys that have got systems will also use portable kit for stuff that's off the radar of the main data acquisition and energy management package. Now in the time we've been operating, we do have experience in pretty much every major client sector, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be public sector, retailing, higher education, you name it, we've worked in that sector. We're a relatively small specialist company though, there's just 15 of us, and we are nevertheless growing, so there may be a few more by the time you speak to me next. Okay, let's talk about the origins of carbon reporting for the UK, and the origins really of carbon measurement and the awareness of carbon footprints, as we say in the UK. Give me all of those. Give me all of those bands. That's it. Yeah, because if I can't control them myself, I can't remember what's coming next. So the origins of carbon reporting go right back to 1992 for the UN Climate Conference in 1992, which was a response to an increasing scientific awareness of man-made global warming. I mean, clearly we all know that man-made global warming is still, in certain areas, a contentious subject, a little bit more so in the last few months than it has been for quite a while. But even by 1992, there was pretty much a scientific consensus that there was a problem and that we needed to look at it. And this was actually ratified by the Kyoto Protocol that everybody's heard of in 1997. But nothing was really implemented in the UK before 2005. And the commitment period, the first commitment period, was 2008-2012. In 2012, we had the Doha Agreement, which extends commitments out to 2018 and beyond. And the concept and goals are, I think, fairly clear. The requirement for carbon reporting is to slow down, stop or reverse global warming by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And the obligation, at least initially, was recognized to be primarily on developed countries rather than developing countries. And that was for the very simple reason that the developed countries had contributed much more to the problem that we are recognized that we have than developing countries, because we've been pumping out CO2 for much longer and in much larger quantities. Now, there is a little bit of a, let me say that the pressure, the impetus for carbon reporting within the DEXCell product has come to some extent from the UK, simply because we are required to carry that out as part of our duties for companies above a certain size. But let's be clear that this is not a UK issue. This rather sketchy map actually shows you in green the parties with binding targets for the second period of the Kyoto Protocol Agreement, in other words, the Doha 2012 and onwards agreement. And you can see that it encompasses almost all of Europe, with the exception, possibly, I think that might be Albania down the just down there next to Italy. And I think if we look hard enough, we can probably find Monaco, who didn't sign up either. But let's be clear that the issue of carbon reporting is not confined to the UK. It may have a sharper focus in the UK, but this is something which Europe has signed up to, as this map makes clear. Okay, and what does it actually mean? When you sign up to it, what do you actually do? Well, as a business, or as a country perhaps, I should say, you sign up to achieve binding targets, and you make a commitment to accounting, reporting and review. Now, does that sound like something you might need some help with? Accounting, reporting and review. Yes, it's possible to do it using estimates and a piece of paper or the back of a fag packet, as we would say, but fundamentally, if you're going to do this job properly, you need some software and some data to allow you to do it. you sign up to the implementation of specific projects to reduce the carbon output of the territory. So as well as accounting, reporting and reviewing what you're doing, you also sign up to do stuff that's going to make it better. And then when you've signed up to do that, you agree to work towards compliance with the targets that you've set. So the binding requirements are, despite what you may have heard in terms of some elements of the press which would have you believe that it's all a bit of a joke, the binding targets associated with the Kyoto Protocol are serious stuff. Okay, so what is the reporting exactly? Well, there is a general greenhouse gas reporting requirement, which is a mandatory annual report for companies of less than 500 employees. The situation is slightly different to ones with greater than 500 employees, but essentially pretty much everybody has to provide some kind of annual report. But the detail is rather more far-reaching than an annual report, which just really means putting something in your in the document that you put out every year for your shareholders. All businesses in the UK which are not part of a climate change agreement, who consume more than 6,000 megawatt hours per annum, are required to sign up to the carbon reduction commitment. And having done so, they are required to submit an annual report based on government greenhouse gas emission factors. And I think we might just have a look at that website just to so we can see what those emission factors are, because it's relevant to the way that DEXCell has been set up. So if we can just click that link, and do I have any control of that? No, I don't. What we need to do is just / carbon emissions or carbon if you put in GHG emission factors, something like that. And let's scroll down a bit, and we've got, keep going, where are we? There's a 2016, there we go, that one I think. Right, and you can see here, we'll look at this year's conversion factors, but you've got all of your historic stuff here as well. That's it, thank you. Okay, and you can see along the bottom here we've got some tabs, and we're actually on electricity here, but we also have fuels as we go down to the left, which provides emissions for LPG, natural gas, gaseous fuels, oil fuels, etc. If we go back to electricity, we can see that we have here per kilowatt hour for 2016 we have a value for CO2 equivalent, CO2, methane and oxides of nitrogen. Now those factors are kilograms per kilowatt hour, so that tells us, as far as the UK is concerned, unless you have some form of green energy commitment, in other words you're using renewable energy or you're generating your own renewable energy, you are bound by these conversion factors, which tells the world how much carbon has been emitted, or CO2 has been emitted, courtesy of the energy that you have consumed. So that is the Bible, that is where the information comes from, which converts your electricity consumption into a carbon equivalent. And if we look at a CRC report, this is just an example of a government page of how to fill in a CRC report, and it's a little bit small, I'm sorry about that, but you can see, or I will tell you if you can't, that there is a line for electricity, an emission factor, an actual supply, an estimated supply, and a calculated emission. Now, the point here is that if you work on estimated values, then you will note on the right hand side it says the system will automatically add 10% to the value because you didn't actually measure it, you only estimated it. Now there's two issues here. One, you need a decent system which is gathering data, and that data is then being put into a software package which allows you to do something with it. And the second one is you need that software package to be able to convert that into the relevant factors, or use the relevant factors to convert it for the different fuels or the different energy sources that you have. If you have no measurement, you pay substantially more for the privilege of estimating the values. And we'll see a little bit further on that in fact the business case for larger businesses is fundamentally clear, that data acquisition and true values are an easy business case to make because of the saving in the equivalent factors which apply. Okay, and this is an example of an export from DEXCell's latest carbon app. And you can see that it covers a period of a month in 2017, and it tells us down at location level what our total carbon equivalents are, and we can also see adding the cost per tonne which we will pay in terms of our carbon reduction commitment. We'll see that in a minute, and we can see what our actual cost liabilities in terms of our reporting actually are. And this is a direct lift from a DEXCell export. So you can see that there's a great deal of hard work and a great deal of legwork is removed simply by clicking the mouse and using the Carbon app. Okay, so in the current phase, participants have the option of buying allowances in advance at the lower price forecast sale at the start of a compliance year, or in a higher price compliance sale after the end of the year. What does that mean? Well, it means this. For 2016-17, for each tonne of carbon which is emitted by businesses who are part of the carbon reduction commitment will cost them £16.10 per tonne if they pay for it up front. If they don't pay for it up front, it will cost them £17.20 maybe, because the asterisk means we might change our mind. That will be the government. So again, the cash flow implications are obviously not good, but there is a significant discount for paying for against estimated carbon output at the beginning of the year rather than the end of the year. And of course, if you estimate your carbon output, then it's a very good idea to try and stick to it. So you need a data acquisition system and some software so that you can monitor your performance over the year. Okay, so let's have a look at what that really means. What are we paying in the UK as part of the carbon reduction commitment? Well, if you take a 5 megawatt supply capacity, like a medium-sized hospital, it's reasonable to assume that they probably consume something like 15 gigawatt hours per year. The emission factor that I've used there, I'm not sure which year that was, but got a emission factor in there of 0.40957. Quick calculation tells us that's approximately 6,143 tonnes of CO2, and that is £95,838 worth. Now, the whole point of the carbon reduction commitment is to ensure that businesses minimise their carbon footprints, take every step they can, and that can include renewables, it can include a number of other options, including of course reducing their energy consumption overall, to bring the cost of their CRC participation down. And in fact, depending on their position in the league table in their sector, they can actually receive paybacks or credits against their carbon reduction commitment, which means they don't pay anything at all. But that is a reasonable breakdown there to show you how the situation currently works in the UK. There are other... Oh,
sorry. Now,
there are some other carbon-based agreements in the UK, which I'm not going to go into in any detail at the moment, but they also require the companies that are part of them to know what their carbon output or carbon equivalents actually are. The climate change agreements are the biggest ones. These are specific to large energy consumers like a steelworks, like a foundry, like a quarry, basically those businesses that use huge amounts of energy and not a lot else to create their product. So if you're running a quarry, you're basically digging stuff out of the ground and breaking it into small pieces, and that uses electricity and not a lot else. So they have different forms of agreement. But the same requirements apply. They still have to report their carbon equivalents on a regular basis. Okay, I didn't bring a glass of water in, so that's about all I can manage without without a drink. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks so much for your presentation, and we learned a lot about carbon reporting, its history, and its impact on business in the UK. And it was really interesting. If you have questions for Bill, please don't forget to put them in the chat box, and we'll get to them at the end of the session. Now we're going to hand things over to Danny Uches, who's our product director here at DEXMA. He's going to introduce the new Carbon app to you and tell you more about automated carbon reporting, how to make it easier.
Exactly. So basically, we were developing this application in order to help our customers to track their carbon emission factors. Once we have all the energy into our software, right? So we are very good at electricity monitoring, gas monitoring, thermal monitoring, so on. And we are building big analysis tools to help people to detect where to start saving. And we had to close exactly. And one of the features that we're missing in Europe, as it is our major focus, it's about carbon reporting. Okay, so carbon reporting in the UK, it's very mature, not in other countries around Europe, but it's something that it's going to be there in a couple of years, right? So we are advancing our position into the market in Europe, and thanks to partners like Bill in the United Kingdom, we have developed and specified this awesome application, I would say. Okay, so which are the main benefits? The main benefits for that app is that you can go from global to local. Okay, as Bill explained to you, every single location, every single company needs to report the amount of carbon equivalences, not only this, but other emissions. So with the application, it allows you to go from one single site to multiple sites, like aggregating your all emissions, right? Then it's works for different scopes. So you know, Nicole, that when you are trying to report carbon, then you have three different scopes: scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Scope 1, it's the on-site energy emissions that you may have. Like for instance, if you have a heater or a boiler there, that it's taking gas. So those gas are scope 1. But if you have electricity, you don't produce the electricity into your company. You just take the electricity from the power plants, right? And this is the scope number 2. Okay. And then you have the scope 3 that it's taking into account all the emissions produced by your colleagues when travel from home to the company.
That also counts.
Exactly. So that's the scope number 3. Or your companies that work with you. So for instance, when Bill goes to a partner or to an end customer, that would account for our scope number 3 as well, right? So it's taking into account all the whole emissions that your company is doing in order to get some productivity, right?
Nice.
Beautiful. So all the scopes are available into this application. Then this is something that was really necessary. So configure time-dependent carbon conversion factors, because that means that every year, even every month, or even every hour, the mix of the electricity, how the electricity is being produced is changing. So now we have 15% in nuclear power plants, then we have eolical, then we have water, but that changes instantaneously. So, well, with our application, what you can do is select time-dependent carbon conversion factors. For instance, Bill was showing us that in the United Kingdom, they change the factor every year, right? So without any doubt, that in the application you can change the carbon conversions, making different figures, okay? Then you can report emissions not just to carbon equivalencies or to CO2, that's the most easy one to do that, but we also open that platform to the 8 different emissions that the Protocol of Kyoto talk about, right? So it's more than that, and I will show it in the app later. And then you can export the results to Excel spreadsheet, but you have as well an analysis screen inside DEXCell where you can make some analysis there. Okay, so aggregate the values and so on.
And is it just for electricity?
No, is it for all the different sources that you have into your account. So as I explained you before, we have thermal, we have gas, we have biomass, we have everything there, right? Cool, so
let's check it out.
Let's check it out, yeah. So let's move to DEXCell. DEXCell Energy Manager. Let's move it to one of our demo accounts. Beautiful. So I know that I'm just logging into the Spanish one, but I will change that in English in a minute. Beautiful. So basically, what you have today is the new carbon emission apps here available.
Irene is telling us about it.
Not yes, sign up. Yes, we are signed up. In fact, we are performing the webinar. That's cool, isn't it?
Super cool.
So thanks, Irene. So here you have the new application into the market. For the ones that don't really know how DEXCell works, we are building a platform, but the platform is very open. So we allow third-party developers to create their own applications to build new features, cool, such as the carbon emission, flow tank manager, demand load. We have the forecasting somewhere here, forecasting app as well. So you just need to simply go there and click it, and it's done.
And then you've got it.
You got it, exactly. Nice. So basically, you have an analysis screen once you have that carbon emission installed, right? And we will show you how it works. Right, so we have some buildings here. So for instance, we want to make the carbon emissions report for 2 buildings, for a building that we have in Madrid and for a building that we have in our city, in Barcelona, you know. So I just need to pick them. I select here which is the equivalent that I want to work with, or the emission. Okay, in that case, let's do it with carbon equivalent, and then let's click on update. And that's going to show me, okay, for each day, because I've selected the daily frequency, which is the carbon emissions, and that becomes in real time from the data that we are gathering from the meters. Okay.
Wow.
So you don't have to do any more manual Excel spreadsheets to start converting from different facilities. But it's cool here is that, okay, but I maybe have different countries into my account, right? And the values from the United Kingdom are not the same from the values in Spain,
right? Because
the mix of the electricity is totally different, right? So,
but I still have to report on those.
Exactly. But DEXCell helps with that. So you can configure different carbon factors for all the different countries, okay? And then here, what you need to do is just to go and click and select, for instance, the London one. And when you click on update, then the London one appears here.
Because emissions in London are not going to cost me the same as emissions in Spain.
And because of the carbon conversion factor, it's not the same at all. Okay. So you can have particular carbon conversion factors for each different countries.
Interesting.
Now we are showing the analysis screen. In about a minute, I will explain you how you have to configure this.
Okay, great.
But basically it's like that, right? So if you want to take, for instance, so far this year, or let's take like the previous year carbon emissions, right? So you just click previous year, it aggregates, okay, that's daily, so maybe it's a bit mess, so you can change quickly to monthly. And that's the ones that I want to report, but I would like to have it in a stacked overview. So aggregating all the different consumptions, right? Mm-hmm. So you could see that for a total of the building here in our city in Barcelona, we have emitted 12 tons, the Madrid one 110 tons, and the London 629 tons, okay, which is too much, right? So you can then export this to Excel, and then you can use that data. Now it's working, yeah. And you can easily use that information to submit your CSR carbon reporting, right? Okay, so it's done here. It's very quick. It takes the data directly in real time, so you don't need to figure out how to calculate it anymore manually.
Nice.
How is that working, right? So how we do that? Well, basically, you have here an screen to visualize the results of it. Just to tell people that we are storing that data, so you can use that data as well for doing your widgets, to creating your alerts, or even to run different reports from that, PDF reports, right?
Great.
What we are doing here, basically, the app, once it's installed in the settings area, it appears a settings section for carbon emissions. And here is where we are configuring all the different emissions for the different countries that we may have. Okay. And it works pretty similar to the costs, to the supplies and cost model that we have built in DEXCell. So basically, for the one in UK, we have selected, we have set the name for carbon emissions in UK. We have selected the energy source. As you were asking before, I have many here available. Okay. And if I'm monitoring thermal, then thermal appears here. That's cool. Then you select which emission type do you want to track. As I explained to you, we have multiple. We have up to 9 different or 8 different. Okay, so it's not just carbon dioxide or carbon equivalent, but we have others available. And then it's a matter of adding periods and the carbon conversion factors. And you then assign this to all the devices that you want to track. Okay. So for instance, in 2017, when the UK government changes the figure for the carbon conversion, you just simply need to click here, add new period, select from and to dates, and select and set the new value.
And I would set it for the whole year, 2017.
Yeah, and that's all that you have to do, because all these will be referenced already to the other system. So and DEXCell will calculate that in real time. Okay, so it's very, very easy to make the maintenance of it. We always try to make applications that are simple enough for the maintenance, right? Because when you are setting up a thing and that thing changes, what you don't want to do is to repeat it for multiple projects, multiple locations. It's just in one place, and then that place exports to all the devices.
It's like copy and pasting to other applications.
That's for the CO2 carbon dioxide, but then you can add into the same UK carbon emissions in UK, you can add other different equivalencies like carbon equivalent, N2O, right, CH4, methane, and I would like to add maybe another one, right, the ozone one, right? So you just need to make the same process again and again. Okay, that's all. Once you save it, then you have all the different emissions. For instance, in Spain, which we are very far behind the United Kingdom, sorry, we just track the carbon emissions, the carbon equivalences, and it's very difficult to find those values as well, right? So we are very immature at that point. Once you have this, that are the different carbon emissions, then you just need to go to your location. Okay, so which buildings you have, and for instance, let's pick up the London building. And in the London building, then that tab appears once the carbon emission app is installed. Okay, so it's totally coherent. You click here, it loads the application for that point, and then that's wrong, for instance, you know. So I would put that device into the carbon emissions for the UK.
Okay, so to add the device, I just drag and drop.
Exactly. Okay. So you basically have all the devices here into that list. Let me just repeat that. I select that here in that particular building, I want to use the carbon emissions for United Kingdom, then click add. And then I just move the devices that I may have and I want to create the emissions from, okay? Once this is done, then if you want to have the data in that particular time, you have to go to the application one back again and just click on the recalculation, okay? Because those emissions are calculated once per day at night, okay? So if you wait for tomorrow, then that data will appear, okay? But if you wanted to calculate from, let's see, from the 2016, what you have to do is to click on recalculation, then select all the different devices that you have here, and select from which date you want to make the recalculation of the carbon. Okay, so even if you are an ongoing project, that's useful for you. So,
right, because you can work retroactively.
Exactly, retroactive, yeah, right. Once you have this, what you need to do is to accept the data points that we are creating, right? Because this is data that we are storing into the, let's say, into our base, right? So we are actually storing that data. Mm-hmm. So it creates a data point here, and what you need to do is just click here and then save the data point for that. Okay. And that's all. Then this is like the setup thing, but this is something that you do all the day for the new projects, right? So it's not something difficult. It's the same workflow that we do for prices.
And once you do this, it's good to go.
It's keep working. It keeps working forever and ever. So what you then need to do is just when you wanted to make the carbon emissions analysis, then just go to that screen here and then have fun, you know. So selecting which is the building that has the carbon emissions and that point, that it's that one, okay? And again, so which stage do you want to report? So for instance, 1 month, and then that's the emissions for carbon equivalent in this. But if you want to move to nitrous oxide, for instance, then you just click here. Well, that maybe it doesn't has, or even methane. Good. So that's the demo effect, you know. Let's try it for that one. Now, yeah, we have it here. Good. So that's the methane emissions.
From the air conditioning.
From the air conditioning from the London building. Exactly.
Got it.
And that's more or less all. So it's very simple. It's very simple app. Maybe the setup thing, it's not simple if you are not used to work with DEXCell, but it's the same workflow that we do in prices. The key part here is that you can share the carbon emissions for your country, right? So if you have 100 sites in your country, you don't need to pay 100 carbon emission factors conversion.
You can just do it once and then it goes for the rest of them.
Exactly. So you share it. So we are saving time there.
Much more time.
Exactly.
Great.
So let's go back to the presentation. Well, that was the demo. That's on. And here we are.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks for that great demo. So now, while we're waiting for the questions to come in, just a reminder that you can add still questions in the chat box here that you see. And we have one here from Adam. Do you charge for the data point the Carbon app creates? Good question.
Yeah.
So it counts as a regular data point then?
Exactly. So the app itself is free, but it generates data points because we're storing the data into our bases, into our system, right? What allows this to do is then the system becomes coherent, right? So you can use it in widgets, or you can use it as in the alert section to make an alert based on carbon emission, for instance, right? So yeah.
So it would generate a data point per location, just like the rest. Okay. Maybe while we're waiting for some more questions to come in, I can throw one over to Bill. Bill, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
So I'm just wondering, you explained a bit how you came to us working with us as a DEXMA partner to put together this Carbon app, but I'm curious about how the need arose in ElComponent in your business. I mean, you talked a lot about the regulations, but can you tell us a bit more about some pain points maybe from your clients, about what kind of needs they were expressing when it came to carbon reporting?
It's fairly simple. Either you give me carbon reporting or I'm not going to buy your software.
Okay.
So that's the main reason.
Yeah, that sounds pretty great. It's easy to understand that.
I mean, carbon reporting takes up a great deal of time in the UK for energy managers and their staff and their teams. And one thing that's perfectly clear about subscription software is that it has to perform at all levels. So in other words, if you invest in a software product which is costing you X amount of money per year, then that software has a fitness for purpose, and the fitness for purpose with something like DEXCell is twofold. One is that it will assist you in reducing your energy consumption and increasing your energy efficiency, reducing wastage, however you want to define it. That software is crucial in that role. It is also crucial in reducing the amount of time you spend doing repetitive work, particularly reporting. And one of the biggest hooks for DEXCell is that it will automatically provide a regular report on any facet of the data that it manipulates, once the report has been set up, you don't have to go and look at it again until something changes. And carbon reporting is a big slice of what we do in the UK, so that fitness for purpose of automated reporting to provide value for money has to include carbon.
So we have a question from Stephen. Maybe Bill, this is another one for you. In the UK, who kind of audits these submissions? Who checks that? Maybe if you know, I'm not sure, but how can we be sure that those are checked correctly and that we're entering the proper data, or if we overestimate?
Well, there are numerous checks and balances. I'm not an expert on the reporting process. I'm more of an expert on responding to what my customers tell me they need. But sure. There is a whole raft of approval procedures which consultants have to acquire before they're able to provide the service to their clients. If the client is doing it in-house, they have to have the relevant approval. The person doing it has to have been on the relevant course and got the relevant approval for the work that they're doing. This is larger companies, obviously. Smaller companies will use consultants. So the checks and balances are in place. How effective they are is not something I can really comment on, but there's a whole industry of consultancy based around this particular facet of reporting.
Okay, we have another one for Danny. Is there any new widget for visualizing data for CO2 emissions?
Well, it's not any particular widget for CO2 emissions, but as we have the data stored, then you can use the bar general widget, right, or the value general widget, and then what we do is to change the background. Right. So instead of having that colored background, we just change the background to show a leaf or show like a cloud, or like the CO2 emission cloud, you know, and that's how it works.
Okay, cool. And of course, there's a reporting template. I mean, this app also works with reports.
We have right now developed the DEXCell report, and I will tell you why. Because talking with Bill about how to extract information about that, we saw that for each country would be totally different.
Right.
So what we want to do is to develop our own standard template, but that's not going to be worth it to present it to any government, right? So rather than that, we have stopped the development here into the Excel spreadsheet, and once we get the feedback from other countries, then we will develop the PDF report template. So for
as far as ElComponent is concerned, we'll probably develop a version of the spreadsheet which is tailored for the UK market as an app of our own.
Oh, beautiful! That's great. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. Another one for Bill we have here about regulations. Bill, what's your opinion? What do you think will happen in the UK after Brexit with these energy and emissions regulations? How do you think Brexit will affect carbon reporting?
Yeah, good question. I figure if I knew the answer to that, I could probably retire now. But
what do you think?
But I think that it's unlikely that the UK will significantly break from Europe on climate change policy. There is clearly the facility or the opportunity for that to happen. My personal view is that it's fairly unlikely. I think that as a leader in response to man-made climate change, there may be some difference in emphasis, but I don't think that we will change our policy in any significant way. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but that's the way that that's the way opinion is at the moment.
Thank you so much.
And for us as well, being like in Spain, right. for us it's very important that the UK starts, well, it keeps pulling.
Exactly, influencing the lagging countries, because it's such a leader right now and influential that it would be helpful if we hope that you're right.
Similar situation in Germany. The German market works in a very similar way to ours, although it's got significant differences and it's done more to, it's spent more money on encouraging renewables and things like that. But the situation in Germany is also advanced compared to the rest of Europe.
Great. I think we have time for one last question, and it is about customization. So this question will be for Danny. Is it possible to brand this service? Is it possible to customize it to our needs?
Yeah, so basically what we offer, working with our partner channels such as Bill from ElComponent, depending on the kind of partner that you onboard with. So what we offer is our platform in an OEM way, right? So you can personalize with your colors and your own corporate branding, and then use the platform to provide services to end customers. So
right, so this is apart from the carbon reporting app. So these are reports for other aspects of DEXCell, other functions, and those are customizable.
Exactly. So that's like our platform. That's what we do. At DEXMA, we just do one thing, which is software, energy management software, so we don't provide the services. So that's why we have the strong power of our partner channel there, right? But what we do, what we try to do, it's one thing, but do it the best one possible.
The best possible way.
The best possible.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for all your questions. If you have more, please feel free to either reach out to us on Twitter at DEXMA, or you can send either of us an email. Our emails are up there on the screen. And we want to give a huge thank you again to our amazing partner, Bill, for co-hosting this webinar with us today, for answering the questions. Thank you so much, Bill. If you want any last words, then the floor is yours.
No, I thank you for the opportunity. I think the only additional comment that I would make is that it will be obvious to some of the participants that one of the comments Danny made earlier on in the presentation regarding the response speed of the DEXCell product, or the MeterWeb 2 as it is in LComponent form, or perhaps it was you, I can't remember. Somebody said
that, but that's okay.
And this really needs to be stated again, because there is no software package of equivalent capability that responds in anything like the time frame that DEXCell does, and that's just been very ably demonstrated today. Anybody who thinks that demonstration was perhaps carried out on a local hard drive to make it look good, I need to tell them that this product responds at that speed wherever you are in the world, assuming you've got a decent internet connection.
Thank you so much, Bill. We appreciate that. We love that. And of course, you saw Danny logging in. It was all online. So thank you so much for your comments and for your feedback. And we look forward to doing another session with you very soon. Guys, try out the Carbon app. Tell us what you think, and your feedback is so important to us. And thank you again so much for joining us. Thanks, guys.